Today was the first open practice of Denver Broncos training camp, and we just got some news that we were definitely hoping to get coming into the season. So today was my first opportunity to get an in-person look at the Denver Broncos this year, and overall, I came away really impressed with what I saw. Normally, on the first official day of training camp, which today was, you have a lot of egregious mental errors. Guys false starting, guys jumping off sides, not being in the right spot, running the wrong route, etc., etc. We didn't see a whole lot of that today. We saw no pre-snap penalties from my recollection, or maybe one. And then we only saw a couple of times where Sean Payton would have to get in and have them re-huddle and rerun the play because somebody screwed up. And both of those times were on the second and third team offense. The first team offense didn't really have any egregious mental errors coming into this practice. That's really good news. That means they're all on the same page mentally. That means that all the offensive linemen know Bo Nix's cadence, so there aren't going to be any issues with guys false starting because they don't know what the snap count is. All that stuff is really good to see on day one. That tells me that the intensity going into this year is much different than it was last year or the year before that. It's a lot more clear that this team has loftier goals in mind than what they had in the previous 2 years. They know that they're good enough to contend for a championship. As far as guys who stood out today, and I think you guys are really going to like this news, Troy Franklin was a big-time positive for the Denver Broncos today in camp. He caught almost everything that came his way. It was pretty clear early on in walkthroughs that Troy Franklin was going to get the ball, and he was getting the ball 4-5 times during that walkthrough period, caught each and every single one of them, and it wasn't just go routes that we saw. It was drag routes, it was swing routes, screens. We saw him run a couple of stop routes, we saw him run a hook. All of this stuff is really good to see because that means that he's increasing his route tree. Last year, Troy Franklin basically had 2 plays. It was either a bubble or a tunnel screen, or it was a go ball. That's about it. This year, we're seeing a lot more out of Troy Franklin in terms of what the Broncos are asking him to do, and that means that the team trusts him. Then we move on to team period, and Troy Franklin is responsible for easily the best play of the day, where Jarrett Stidham is stepping up in the pocket. He's looking like he's about to get sacked by Dondre Tillman. It probably would have been a sack in game conditions if we're being honest, but Troy Franklin still very much did his job. He got 2 big steps on his defender. Stidham launched it up. It was on either a post or a deep over. I can't remember exactly which one it was. And Troy Franklin catches it in stride and takes it in for a touchdown. That was a really, really awesome play. So, yeah, man, really good to see Troy Franklin stepping up. Another guy who is definitely stepping up is Pat Bryant. He was running with the first team offense today, and he was also catching mostly everything that went his way. He did have a drop, that kind of sucked. But Pat Bryant, it's clear that the Broncos have a vision for him schematically. I can't really get too much into that because I don't want to get in trouble, but there is a clear vision with Pat Bryant. There's a defined role for him. If you go back to my wide receiver deep dive that I did a couple of days ago, each of our wide receivers have a clear defined role, and that's what I wanted coming in, and let's just say that that defined role for Pat Bryant is exactly what I thought it was going to be coming in. You guys can go look into that more yourself if you want to. But, again, really, really impressive stuff. As far as on the defensive side of the ball, and I know I can say this because I heard other media members talking about it, Jahdae Barron lined up everywhere today. Started off, he was lining up in the nickel, but then we moved into team period, and he had a couple of reps where he was outside. So we are going to see him mostly line up in the slot as expected, but there will be some packages where he lines up outside on the boundary alongside Pat Surtain or on the opposite side of Pat Surtain. That's going to be really cool to see just how they want to mix him up and utilize him. Evan Ingram definitely looked good in individual periods, didn't really stand out too much in team period, but there's also a clear defined role for Evan Ingram. And I can also come out and say this. He's going to be the big slot receiver, just like I said all along for this team. He lined up once as an inline tight end, and he wasn't asked to block. He went out into the passing pattern. That tells me that Sean Payton has a clear role for Evan Ingram as that big slot move tight end. He'll be all over the place. He's not just going to play in the slot. They'll move him all over the place. But it's very clear that Adam Troutman is going to be the starting inline tight end for this Denver Broncos team. We've been saying that for months here on this channel, that Evan Ingram has a defined role, but it's not as your traditional Y inline tight end. Seeing things in person today confirmed that suspicion for me. So overall, for the first day of training camp, the first official day, not counting the 2 ramp-up days previous, it was a good day, man. No mental errors. Bo Nix was a little bit shaky to start off things in individual and in walkthrough, but got better during team period as time went on, which is exactly what you want to see. He made a beautiful chef's kiss throw across his body to Pat Bryant as he was getting flushed out to the right. That's normally one of those throws where if you're a coach, you're kind of like, no, 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 yes, yes, good job, Bo. Don't ever do that again, but good job. That's a throw that we'll probably see once or twice from Nix in an actual game situation, but Sean Payton was probably clenching his cheeks a little bit on the sideline watching that throw because he knew there was a chance that if Bo didn't see the defender, it could have been an interception and a house call the other way, but it wasn't. Bo Nix put it exactly where it needed to be. It showed off the arm talent from Bo Nix. And speaking of that, you can clearly tell that Bo Nix has been working on his mechanics when throwing the football. That was one of my biggest criticisms of Bo Nix last year, was that he was throwing with all arm and all shoulder and wasn't really using his hips and his core to drive into his throws and get velocity that way. He's doing that a lot more this year. It's not perfect. I'm still seeing a couple of times where he's kind of lunging himself into the throw and throwing with all upper body, but for the most part, I'm seeing a lot more of a fluid throwing motion for Bo Nix, which is what I've wanted to see all along from him. That tells me that he's committed to all the little nuances of getting better. It's not just the stuff that we see each and every single day. It's going out to San Diego and working with Drew Brees, working with Tom House, who's known as a throwing guru. All of that stuff is going to make a massive difference come Sunday on the football field for Bo Nix, and that is already starting to show up in these practices. It's exactly what you want to see coming out of training camp. All right, Broncos country, I will not be at training camp tomorrow. The tickets were impossible to get, but I will be back out there on Monday, which is going to be really important because it is day 1 of pads. That's going to be a big-time opportunity for some of the running backs to stand out, in particular Audric Estime, who really did have a bad day today. He didn't do much out there, and he had a drop when he was working on the jugs machine. So, yeah, man, we'll see what happens with the running backs once pads come on, but as of right now, Audric Estime is looking like he's on the outside looking in. Alright, Broncos country, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. And if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. It is not mandatory. You will still get the same content you are accustomed to here on Broncos Syndicate. But if you want to go above and beyond, improve the production quality of these videos in exchange for some perks and rewards, you can either click the join button below or go to the link in the description below. Both ways work. Here's a shout out to our current channel members on the Hall of Fame tier. Let's bring that in. Thank you so much to Safe Shield and John. And until the next one, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.